So, to conclude, the death penalty has been a capital punishment since the 18th century. It began with criminals being hung for minor offenses such as thieving or picking pockets. During the 1970s, homicides had been increasing rapidly, that the death penalty was even reinstated, although not yet used till the 90s, as Myrna previously stated. Sometimes the death penalty does not provide its purpose, which is to give the victims that were wrongfully murdered justice by punishing the criminals responsible for his crimes or her crimes. The death penalty then started to become more advanced as the years went by, because inmates were now being given a lethal injection or death by electric shock instead of being hung. As Alicia says, the death penalty in California is currently on halt due to the issue that it was violating the U.S. Constitution's 8th Amendment, which is of cruel and unusual punishment. But inmates are also illegitimately accused of crimes judging by their skin color, which the death penalty does not stand for, and therefore is assumed to have been a failed system in California. Even though California's penalty is on hold, far more states in the U.S. are more supportive of this policy, and it is in fact still intact in other states. Most of the inmates that are currently on death row in California are convicted of murder or homicide. But the way for someone to even end up on death row or sentenced to death are for murder, treason, drug trafficking, or attempted murder. Back then, people were hung for their crimes because of stealing. And for example, like the Salem witch trials, when women were being hung because it was supposedly said that they were doing witchcraft. It is very important to notice how much this policy has changed so much over time, being put to death for stealing and not for murder. That's the difference. It is far more reasonable for an inmate to get put to death for being a psychopath than someone put to death for only stealing to have food. However, as Vanessa states, because there is an increasingly high number of inmates sitting on death row in California, it has cost loads of taxes for how long an inmate spends their time on death row. We did notice that it costs thousands of tax dollars per inmate that are just sitting on death row. Hence, it would be best to decrease that time that an inmate sits on death row by and rather spend those taxes on something more effective like education or other social culture necessities, and also allowing rest for the families robbed of their beloved brothers, sisters, mother, etc., than to allow a sociopath to continue living his life as if he deserves it and keep this servable policy. Thank you.